Yo guys, welcome back to another video. As you guys can see, the angle is a little bit different today. It's just because my normal setup isn't going to be working. It's getting later in the day, so I'm having to use my lamp for lighting. It's a whole thing, but I'm trying to make it work. Today we're going to be doing something I've been seeing go around on Booktube, and that is the mid-year Freakout tag. Basically, it's just a few questions. I say a few, it's about a dozen questions, just about your experience reading so far in the first half of the year, and some of it is kind of like asking what you plan to do for the second half of the year. So I figured I would go ahead and answer some of these questions, get into it, and I see a lot of people doing it, and it actually looked kind of fun because these are some pretty cool questions. They're not lame. I mean, a lot of them are like basic questions, but some of them are actually interesting. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. If you guys do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I would greatly appreciate it. And be sure to join the Discord down in the link. I always say this, down in the description with the link below, because right now we are doing a book club for John Gwynn's Shadow of the Gods. We are finishing it up, and starting in August, we're going to be hopping right into Hunger of the Gods. So if you guys want in on that, be sure to join. Yeah, we talk about a lot of book stuff, manga stuff, all that. It's a cool place, so check it out. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So, starting things off, the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? And I technically haven't finished this book yet. There's not a review out for it yet, but that is going to have to be Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynn. We're doing that book club right now. We're finishing it this week. I'm within like the last 6 chapters of the book. I'm probably going to end up finishing it tonight, actually. But this book has just been fantastic. I'm not going to say too much because there's so much that I want to save for my review of it. And I also am not finished with it, so I can't really talk a whole lot about it. But yeah, this is just such a clever spin on like Norse mythology, with like a fantasy quest. It's very tropey, I will say, but it's just so well done by John Gwynn. And you're gonna see this book and John Gwynn pop up a few more times in this video, I will say. But yeah, Shadow of the Gods is just fantastic, and this has got to be the best book that I have read so far this year. Now the next question is going to be, what is the best sequel you've read this year so far? And for me, that is going to have to be The Burning Land by Bernard Cornwell. This is book 5 of the Saxon Tales series, book 5 of 13. Again, this is another book that's going to pop up on this video again. But yeah, very well done. I mean, Bernard Cornwell never ceases to amaze me. Every single book in the Saxon Tales series has something great to offer, and just exploring our main character Uhtred even further, and as he gets older and possibly even more jaded, to what's going on around him, and like these new lords and kings that are always coming in and out because they're dying. Mostly by Uhtred's hand, honestly, because he's killed a lot of important people. Yeah, it's just really fun. Uhtred's an amazing protagonist. A very bold and hot-headed and arrogant, but also reluctant. And that sort of thing is pretty cool. And also just like the amount of pain this guy endures, just not only physically, but like mentally and emotionally. Which, again, is another thing, or another reason why you'll see this pop up again on this list. I don't want to go into it too much, because again, I'm going to try and make this video pretty spoiler-free. But yeah, trust me, Burning Land is fantastic. Probably the best sequel that I've read this year. Now, this next question, I didn't really exactly know what to put. Just because there's nothing new that I could think of that I haven't read yet that I'm wanting to get into. So I kind of had to cheat just a little bit on this. So I'm going to say a new book that I haven't read yet that I really want to. I guess The Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. This book comes out at the end of the month. It's book 6 in the Red Rising series. The only thing is I haven't read the Red Rising series yet. So, I mean, although I really want to read Lightbringer, as it is a part of that series, I am going to have to start with book 1, of course. And this isn't a new book by any means. It came out almost a decade ago now. So that's a little bit of a cheating, pick, in my opinion. But if I can't choose that, then I'm going to have to go with Secret Project 3, or as it's otherwise called, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This just released. I believe the physical book has just been shipped out or something, being like the special edition. Personally, I just don't have the money to spend that much on a single book, as much as I'd want to, because, I mean, those secret projects just look amazing. Especially the Secret Project 2 one just looks fantastic, in my opinion. So I'm having to wait until it is, when the traditionally published edition comes out, which I believe is in October. So, I mean, I haven't read it. It's already out, but I'm having to wait. So that's also pretty anticipated for me, just because I really want to read all of the secret projects. Now, the next one is anticipated, new releases. So this is stuff that hasn't come out yet, that is coming out later this year, for the second half of the year, I guess. And I'm gonna have to put Secret Project 4. I don't know if we're gonna get the traditionally published version of it this year, or if that's gonna have to wait until early next year. I'm not sure, but Secret Project 4 just looks really interesting. Just from the little blurb about it, it sounds almost like some weird H.G. Wells inspired kind of thing. And then, if not that, again, this is my actual pick, but it's a little bit cheating too, and that is the reprint they're doing of Empire of Silence, by Christopher Rucchio, I believe. Part of the Sun Eater series, and this is like a space opera kind of thing. It kind of sounds like if you were to take, I don't know, like King Killer Chronicles, but make it like space sci-fi stuff. So yeah, it's an awesome series that I've heard a lot about, and I really want to get into it. Sadly, for the longest time, it's kind of hard to find, physically, which is the only way that I read anything. The hardcover goes for at least $100, and there is a mass market paperback, but I just can't seem to find it. Not that I would want the mass market paperback anyways, and it's either that or read it online, and I don't really care to do that. So I'm very excited for the regular standard paperback release that they're doing, which should be coming out in September, and they're re-releasing the first few books a week after each other. So the first one would release, then the second book releases a week later, and then the third one. So I am probably going to be picking up all of those because I'm really excited for those. But again, those books came out years ago. It's just a reprint, so I don't think that really counts. Next up is the biggest disappointment of the year so far. And if you guys are been keeping up with my book journey so far this year, going back to my other channel, the book that got me back into reading being Flower Heart. This is a brand new book, came out I believe in March or April. Honestly was a disappointment. I was expecting it to be good. I don't really know what I was expecting going into it. What really just drove me to read it was a simple sounding plot that was intriguing. It sounded a little, cozy, but also I don't know. It was there was a romantic subplot, obviously, and that was going to be a big part of it. Which, if you guys don't know, I'm a sucker for romantic subplots in my fantasy and sci-fi and whatever. I don't know. It's a YA, so I don't want to crap on YA too much, but this doesn't really help that demographic in my eyes. That's that's why I'm really hesitant to read more YA fantasy, and this book definitely didn't help with that stigma. If you guys want to know more about my thoughts, go check out my review on it. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest book I've ever read, and was overall pretty disappointing. And now the complete opposite of that point, rather than being the biggest disappointment, we have the biggest surprise so far. And for me, that is going to have to be Secret Project 2, or the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, or just the Frugal Wizard's Handbook. I actually just finished this book yesterday afternoon or evening, and boy, I really enjoyed this book. I know a lot of people were talking down about this book, saying that, they didn't like it, and it was one of Sanderson's more lackluster works, and that made me really hesitant going into it, and I wasn't super into it going into it because of how everybody was talking about it. But I try not to let other people's thoughts and opinions get to me when I haven't even read the book yet. So I ended up reading it, and I came out of it really, really enjoying it. Again, I haven't made a review on this yet, because I just finished it yesterday. So I'm going to be working on a review for this very soon, so be expecting to see that. But yeah, this has got to be the biggest surprise for me this year so far. This book was really good in my opinion, just tons of fun. The next, point or question is, what is your new favorite author from this year so far? And again, I told you guys you would see this again on here. That is going to have to be John Gwynne, author of Shadow of the Gods, or the Bloodsworn Saga, as well as Faithful and the Fallen, of Blood and Bone. This guy is just really cool. I love the way he writes. I loved this book. I've seen him on his son's YouTube channel. If you guys don't know, John Gwynne's sons have a YouTube channel, the Brothers Gwynne. They're pretty cool. They read a lot of historical fiction and fantasy, all that stuff. And before reading this, I actually watched an interview that they did with their dad, talking about, just inspirations and this book before this book came out, I believe. Or it may have been the sequel, I'm not sure. But he just seems like such a genuinely cool dude, and the type of stuff he's into, his inspirations and all that. I just really vibed with this author. Outside of the book, he just seems like a really awesome dude, and that's why I think he's one of my new favorite authors. He's gotta be. If not him, then Sanderson, because I've just started reading Sanderson, so I've liked what I've read so far by him, but this being my favorite book so far this year, I gotta go John Gwynne. Next up is a bit of a spicy question, and that is, who is your new favorite book crush? So I don't really know. This one was pretty hard for me to pick. I went with either Elvar from Bloodsworn Saga, or either, again, I had to choose multiple here just because I wasn't sure. Cephawin from Wizard's Handbook here. She was really sweet. I liked her a lot, as well as Tress from Tress of the Emerald Sea. I guess kind of a three-way tie between them. I can't really choose one, but especially Tress and Cephawin, they just seem very sweet, and then Elvar is just a dope chick. So yeah, there you go. That's my answer for that question. Now the next question is, who is your new favorite character, just in general? This was easy for me, and once again, from Shadow of the Gods, either Orca or Varg. Orca being the character you follow, with her whole revenge quest and thing. Revenge quest and thing, that doesn't make sense. The revenge quest thing, and if you guys are familiar with me, you guys know that I love a good hateful character who's hellbent on revenge. And Orca is just that. She's extremely badass, and Varg is somewhat similar. He's kind of a newbie. He's trying to figure out who killed his sister, and so he joins like a band of mercenaries, and towards the end of the book you find some more stuff out about him. Yeah, he's just so dope, and this book is so dope. But those are definitely my two favorite characters so far this year. After that, it asks about a book that made you cry. Personally, I didn't cry while reading. I find that very hard to do. I just don't cry while reading. However, this book made me feel some things, and that is, again, Burning Land by Bernard Cornwell. This book in particular, something tragic happens to our main character, Uhtred, and as somebody like who's been reading this series again since middle school, and is deeply invested in this story, it's my favorite series of all time. When you see just how happy our main character is, somebody who's truly deserving of this happiness, and stuff happens, and maybe a slight tear was brought to my eye at some point reading this book. Wouldn't say that I cried, but yeah, I was definitely like, what the hell, for a solid like day or two after reading this specific part. Yeah, Burning Land. On the complete other side of things, that is a book that made you extremely happy, and again, Shadow of the Gods. I feel like a broken record at this point, but this book is just so freaking fantastic. Me and my girlfriend, we do this thing where we'll read the book together when we're on the phone together, and I mean, she's you can ask her, and some of my reactions to things over the phone, I was hyped. This book definitely got the most emotion out of me, for better or worse, like happiness, sadness. Again, I said the book that almost made me cry was Burning Land, but that was like the only thing. This book just makes you feel a wide range of emotions, and yeah, this made me extremely excited and happy, especially when dope moments happen, and there is no shortage of those whatsoever. The next question is, what is the most like beautiful edition of a book that you've gotten so far this year? This one wasn't really difficult for me at all, and that is going to have to be my Stormlight Archive box set, the hardcovers. I'm not going to hold up all of them, and again, that would be kind of cheating, so I just chose Way of Kings here. Yeah, these hardcovers are just amazing, and having them all together like that, it was just a wonderful investment on my part. I can't wait to read these yet, because I haven't read them. I plan to do a book club probably in the fall here for Way of Kings. But yeah, these editions are just fantastic, and they have some artwork in them as well, and maps. And if you take off the jacket here, it's got like some imprinted design. These are just awesome, and yeah, I was so happy to get that box set in my collection here on my shelves. So yeah, the Stormlight Archive hardcovers. And finally, the final question of the mid-year Freakout tag is, what do you need to read by the end of the year? There's a few things that I plan to read. I actually forgot to grab it. Hunger of the Gods. This is the sequel to my favorite book this year, Shadow of the Gods. Who would have thought, right? We're actually picking this up, like I said at the very beginning of the video, in August for the next book club. And boy, can I not wait for this. So yeah, Hunger of the Gods is definitely one of them. Another one being Pagan Lord by Bernard Cornwell. This is the 7th book in Saxon Tales. I read the first 6, and I want to get even further in this series this year. Hopefully read at least a couple more. If not, then, at least this one, because this is the next one. Yeah, the ending of the last book was just insane, and it was kind of one of those things where it leaves you feeling like, well, what is going to happen next? Not like super exciting, but just like you feel like the world was left in shambles, and there's just a lot of uncertainty. So this book, I bet, is just going to be insane. So that's book 7 of Saxon Tales. And then, again, one of my highly anticipated reads for the second half of the year, Way of Kings. Need I say more? Everybody knows about Stormlight Archive. I can't wait to hop into it. So, yeah, I already said probably going to do a book club for this. I can't wait for that. And then, probably the last thing, which is something I may or may not get to, just something I really do want to get into, and that is Red Rising. Yeah, this is a new series that I just recently heard about. Sounds pretty cool, like a sci fantasy kind of thing, almost like a military. I don't even know how to really explain it. It's like almost like science fiction, but they're like conquering planets and like stuff like that, and there's like battles and on these planets. Definitely like I said, like a sci fantasy. This first book I've heard is not the best, and it leans a lot into like a almost dystopian young adult, like Ender's Game, Hunger's Game kind of thing, which might not be the best thing, but I've heard by book 2 it picks up and becomes something just glorious, and so I can't wait to read the Red Rising saga. And so guys, that is going to be it for the video. Yeah, I hope to get around to all those books that I talked about this year, and once I finally do, be expecting reviews. Yeah, I obviously love reading, and I was so iffy to make this video because I just feel like I haven't read enough this year compared to a lot of people, but I just said screw it and wanted to share my thoughts. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, join that Discord server down below. We would love to have you, and I would love to see you guys in the next one. Peace.